We have another 10-minute unrestricted public comment period. Yes, Mike.
Mr. Chairman, I spoke to you at your courier meeting about the lead poison delivery system at Manchester Elementary Middle School. And I was probably appropriately brushed off at that point. I know your desire to have fact-based decisions, so I've come up with a timeline of events that are within my knowledge, and it starts with when the water system was tested 10 years ago, when the first pre-K program was started. Superintendent pointed out in an email to me that that was a different level at that time. And when possible, what I did here was cut and paste from emails or blog posts, so that it's not my prejudice coming into it. I also transcribed as best I could from GNAT tapes when necessary. The bolding was added by me for emphasis. And today's entry on the last page represents my conclusions, which I believe to be true, but I welcome your corrections. And I'd just like to go over them briefly. The parents have still not been notified of the lead test results as was promised and as required by law. 2 faucets, according to the health department's website, still have not been replaced, despite the representation to the board that all fixtures had been replaced during the Christmas break. Follow-up tests have not been completed. There are no plans that have been developed for remediation should the follow-up tests come in over the action level after the replacement of the fixtures. And from my conversation with Mr. Montross, that should be expected because the post-flush samples, in many cases, not many cases, but several cases, were over the level. Board, parents, and the public have repeatedly been misled, no pun intended. The administration is still relying on paper signs and plastic bags to protect our children more than 3 months after the test results were received. Now, I mentioned to you before that, one of these faucets came in at 109 times the action level. Another one came in 50 times the action level. I did do a little research, and I thought it would be helpful to look at Flint, Michigan, which was much in the national news for the problems they had there with lead when they switched their water source from Lake Huron to the Flint River. You may be surprised to find that I picked one of their elementary schools at random. We have 16 faucets at MEMS that were above the level of Flint, Michigan. So this is to me, a problem that hasn't been taken seriously either by the board or the administration. And it's caused you to lose sight of your first board goal, which is we will make all our students our first priority. We have students being exposed to this stuff on a daily basis, and we're relying on plastic bags and paper signs.
Anybody on the board wish to comment? Dick?
Item number 5 of your February statement suggests that the board, parents, and the public has been misled. I
Yes.
don't believe, given the reports that were made, that there was a nefarious intent to mislead.
I don't,
I'm not finished quite yet.
okay, I'm sorry.
And I believe that Jackie said that she wanted to follow the state law with respect to lead problems. And if you've surfaced other data, I'm sure that our superintendent intends that our students be safe and that the drinking water obviously needs to be safe as well. I think this report is an excellent piece of data gathering, but I think the board itself leaves the management of the individual schools and the safety implied with how students are dealt with to the superintendent and the building principals. If I were the superintendent, I would certainly want to follow up to make sure that the drinking water is in fact safe. But it is the job of the superintendent.
And can I make a comment?
Could I respond to his point?
Go ahead and do that first, yeah.
I don't mean to imply any nefarious motives. And I believe the superintendent does have the kids' best interest at heart. But the board has made a decision to delegate this entirely to the superintendent. And what I'm showing you is that doesn't ensure that these things are being taken care of. She has many things that she has to worry about. This is not, this is not the only thing she has to worry about. She was told, apparently, that the people from the state told her that she couldn't turn off the water, that it had to be the signs put up. Mr. Montrose, who I spoke to at the state, who was person cited as one of the two, said that's not true. That their role is strictly to provide resources for remediation, to administer the reimbursement angle of this, but not to tell school districts what they have to do. So you were sitting at a meeting where you were told that the people from the state said, this is what happened. That's what I'm talking about, misleading. It's not because I think she was trying to cover something up. It's because things get delegated and it goes from this person to that person to that person, and there's no follow-up. And this board doesn't follow up.
Given that it's about 17 minutes of 9, would it make sense to put this on the next month's agenda as not an action item, but an information item?
I mean, I feel compelled right now just to respond because...
So let me just ask the board, which way do you want to go?
I want to respond.
I mean, I've been fully aware, I've been, seeing some communications from Mr. Norath. I just want to assure you that we have through every step of this process followed what we were required to do from the state. Parents were informed, the letter went out from every school, and it was told the date when that data would be made available for them on the website. We used the form letter that was given us by the state and exactly did what we were told to do. As far as I disagree, I don't know, I've never met Mr. Montross, but Greg Harrington and Adam Bush were told that they should not turn off the water. We may have some disagreement about that as to what actually happened. I wasn't there, I don't know, but they were told that. But what I do want to tell you is that I did check in several times with the custodians of that school and with Greg Harrington. The places where we had elevated levels of lead, those fixtures were covered with plastic and taped so that no kid could get at them. So they were inaccessible to students. The other ones that were not at those high levels, we were told, and I'm following what we're told, they can be used for hand washing. So they were used for hand washing. And, they weren't used for drinking. And if it was in a classroom where the kids were too young to read the signs, then we made those inaccessible for them if they could not read the signs. And in one case, it was in a kindergarten classroom where the teacher, it was accessible to kids, but she said, I'm there all the time, they need to wash their hands. They took away the cups. We will make sure that no kids are drinking from the faucet. And so, we took every precaution, and, this was a new mandate. We tested when we were supposed to test. We have followed right to a T what the state has asked us to do. So I really disagree with this interpretation.